What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode number 84 of Week in Review. My name is Sean, and on this week's show, we're talking about Ready or Not, the Peanut Butter Falcon. We'll look forward to this week's new releases, and I'll tell you about the streams happening over on twitch.tv/Shaunosaurus First up on this week's show is the pleasant surprise horror comedy mashup, Ready or Not. Horror movies are not typically something that I see, and by extension aren't something that I typically review on this show, unless it's something like Shaun of the Dead, which is a horror comedy mashup, or something like A Quiet Place, which has the element of silence and like the curiosity of like how does that play into a movie in the year 2018 when it came out, or like a movie like Us, which is directed by Jordan Peele, who is a guy that I just enjoy his work. The movie's just a super like pulpy good time. Like I can't get over how fun it was. That was the first thought I had when I left the movie, was like, man, that was fun. And then the second thought I had was they really need to fix the door hinge on Theater 16 because boy is it squeaky. And then the third thought I had was, how many times is a person allowed to check their phone next to you before you take it out of their hand and wing it to the front of the theater? It's a super basic plot structure of this woman is marrying into a family. This family is a little bit weird in the like, I can't quite place my finger on it, but there's something that's just a little bit off about you. And I also don't like understand why you're so obsessed with this ritual that you need to perform. The movie runs a very brisk, like cut down to what it needs to be, 90 minutes. And I thought that the comedy aspects of it worked really well, and it tends to lean that way in the first like 2/3 of the movie before switching gears and focusing a little bit more on the darker side of things in the last third of the movie. It only gets bogged down in its pacing a couple of times where it gives like some backstory at one point, and it's like, oh, this is a lot of talking, a lot of like filling in, but like you need that to understand exactly what they're trying to do or why they're in this position. So like you can see how committed they are to following through on this plan, regardless of how like crazy or not crazy it is. It's definitely on the crazy side. And then there's a moment later in the movie that feels like it's supposed to resonate with me a little bit more, but it just doesn't, because I don't think the movie really builds any sort of characters aside from the main character that we spend the most time with. It doesn't build any of the side characters to make me care enough about whether they live or die. So it's a weird thing where like I'm not engaged with any of them emotionally, but at the same time I'm still having fun watching them on screen. And it goes back to the pacing sort of thing where these minor detours comparatively are super small, and it happens and then it just moves right on to the next thing, and it just keeps doing that for 90 or so minutes, and then it ends with its big finale, which went in a much darker direction than I anticipated, and I'm really glad that they did that, because this feels like a movie that in the wrong hands would put the idea in your head about why they're doing this sort of thing and then stop like 90% of the way there and not let them go full bore like, this is really weird and creepy and off-putting and uncomfortable. And I'm glad that the movie went in the direction that it did. I thought the performances across the board were really great. I thought a lot of them landed their comedic moments. The movie's focus on comedy in the first 2/3 of the movie does seem to take the wind out of the intensity sales towards the end of the movie. There are 2 or 3 times during the movie where there are supposed to be like jump scares or surprises, and 2 of the 3 were ruined in the trailer, so that's not the movie's fault. But the last scare that's supposed to happen didn't get me, and I am the easiest person to scare. Like I get startled on stream when I'm doing when I'm playing a game and an achievement unlocks sometimes. Like a totally normal sound that I hear all the time pops in my headphones, and I like jump like, oh my goodness gracious. And I think it's because of its focus on more lighthearted comedy that when that third like jump scare happens in the third of the movie, it just didn't quite work, because I never felt that tenseness that horror movies typically give me, or even movies that are kind of set at night where there's like an off-putting situation kind of like just kind of tenses me up in a way. But because this is me, I actually really appreciated that it was much more comedy oriented, because I think that it's hard to have a movie based on a game like of hide and seek not kind of lay into the weirdness of that situation. So that would be a like minor criticism of it, but that doesn't really affect me. But I feel like if you're going into into this movie thinking like, wow, I'm gonna go see this horror movie, like you should know like it's not the most like horrific horror movie, and labeling it as like strictly horror is probably doing the movie a disservice because it is more of a horror slash comedy hybrid. It worked for me. I think there's maybe one too many times where like, oh, the character got out of that situation again, where you're like, okay, like that's fine. But again, it all loops back into the plot structure, and the pacing of the movie are just so well done, and that it's like several little things where I just go like, I don't really care because I'm having so much fun and I really enjoyed this movie, and it's such a pleasant surprise, and it's such a like, man, I'm really, really glad that I went and saw this. I went and saw it on like an opening night with like a packed movie theater, and it was a really cool experience, and I had a lot of fun with it. And I'd recommend that people check out Ready or Not because it's a pulpy, awesome, fun movie that I was like, man, I would definitely watch that again. Next up is The Peanut Butter Falcon. I love this movie so much. I tweeted after I saw it that The Peanut Butter Falcon is art, and I mean that in the highest, nicest, praisiest way I can. I love everything about this movie. It is a very simple plot setup where it's basically two runaways bonding. One of the runaways, his name is Zach, and he has Down syndrome, and he runs into Shia LaBeouf's character, and they meet up and they continue their adventure because Zach is trying to get to a wrestling school, and it just kind of happens to be in Shia LaBeouf's characters on his way. I love the characters of this movie. I thought they were all super well done, well written. They were interesting and fun to spend time with, even if one of them's a little bit of a dick. I thought that the acting was great. I loved the way it was written. I loved the plot structure of this movie where things are established early in the movie and they keep coming back up, and they make a point to like make sure that there aren't any loose ends at the end of the movie. I love the character dynamics throughout the movie, the way they kind of shift and change, the way characters bond over certain aspects, the way they are able to teach other people how to see things in a different light. I thought that it was just really, really well done, and all of it felt super real. I thought the cinematography was fantastic. I liked the musical score. I thought the acting was top notch. I love this movie. It is so funny. It is so fun. It's heartbreaking. It's heartwarming. It's heartfelt. It's kind. It's caring. It's sweet. I know this is a super short review for this movie. I think it is absolutely incredible, and I hope that people go and see it. I can't recommend that people go see it enough. Like, I just want to scream from the rooftops, which is essentially reverted to me in my room in front of a microphone and a webcam talking to you on the internet who chose to click on this video and actually made it to this point in the video to hear me talk about how much I love the Peanut Butter Falcon. Whew, that's a lot of words. The Peanut Butter Falcon is so endearing. It's so engaging. It is just an all-around wonderful movie. I've said I love about this movie so many different times for so many different reasons and in so many different categories. And it's just, I can't get past what a wonderful movie this is. I highly encourage everyone to go check it out. It is such a magnificent experience. I loved every bit about it. There were so many like perfect cinematographic shots where I was like, God, this is just so beautiful. And so many times where I was sitting in the theater and sitting in the seat just going like, I love everything about this. I love this movie. It is so miraculous and amazing. And I can't express that enough and tell you enough. Like, please go see this movie. It is absolutely incredible. This is easily one of the best movies of the year. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to buy tickets so I can go see it again. Finally, on this week's show, we'll take a look at this week's new releases. Rocket Man is on Blu-ray, and I recommend everyone check that movie out. It's one of the best movies of the year. It's a really engrossing and engaging movie. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I thought Taron Egerton was absolutely fantastic as Elton John. There's nothing in the theaters, but the games decided that this was the week to release everything, because there are 5 games releasing this week. It's absurd. It's the end of August. Like, why are you releasing 5 games this week? Astral Chain is on the Nintendo Switch. It's a Nintendo Switch exclusive. Knights and Bikes is out. The Dark Pictures Anthology, Man of Medan, that's all one title. And finally, Wreckfest. I'm actually going to be playing 3 of those games as they come out. I'm very excited about them. And that actually leads very nicely into the streams that are happening this week. On Friday and Sunday, I'm going to play Control, and on Monday, I'm going to play Man of Medan. So you'll get to see those games. And then last night, I played Wreckfest, and that video will be up on Friday if you want to check that game out as well. I'm very, very excited about Wreckfest. Thank you so much for watching this week's episode of Week in Review. If you like the content, scroll on down and hit that subscribe button, and then you can scroll on down a little bit more, and you can let me know what you thought of the stuff featured on this week's show. You can tell me what you thought of Ready or Not or the Peanut Butter Falcon. Be sure to check out the streams happening on Friday, Sunday, and Monday over on twitch.tv/Shontosaurus This is your last opportunity to fill out a bracket for September Mascot Madness, tipping off on September 4th over on twitch.tv/Shontosaurus Fill out your bracket at challenge.com/Sept Mascot Madness. And as always, be sure to check back every Tuesday for more week in review. We'll see you next week.